Welcome to the latest episode of Inside Procurement, the SmartCube's forum for looking at the ideas, trends, and developments that are influencing the leaders and functions that we work with today. In my last video, I started the conversation on commodity risk management, a topic that's been on the minds of procurement executives across the world in 2020. As I said, different companies tend to approach this topic in different ways and tend to rely on different tools and techniques to manage commodity risk. In this three-part video series, I'm speaking to these different approaches, specifically speaking to the typical stages of maturity that we tend to see organizations move through when it comes to this important topic. In today's video, I'll discuss this second stage of maturity that we tend to see organizations evolve through. This second stage is when organizations shift their focus from simple cost containment to long-term cost control. This cohort includes teams that work with strategic suppliers to sign long-term agreements and bring more budgetary control into the mix. We term these as developing procurement organizations that have now embarked on the journey towards total commodity risk management. These teams have put strategic guidelines and broad principles in place to look at more than simply cost. They're driven by an underlying shift in executive and board level philosophy around what the role of procurement should be, and the very fact that procurement can indeed play a strategic role when it comes to commodity risk management. Inevitably then, their actions are backed by an array of enriched intelligence, which I discussed in my last video, as well as analytics. In fact, the use of analytics is key to bringing more rigor to commodity-related decision-making. When to buy, how much to buy, and who to buy from is all driven by robust analytics, leaving little to no room for subjective thinking, and rightfully so. In order to get to this robust intelligence and analytics, we may see in this stage some of these organizations building both in-house as well as complementary external capacity to run these intelligence and analytical programs. These teams will deploy diverse tools such as econometric modeling for some critical commodity forecasts. There will be more focus on linking contracts to benchmarks, bringing more clarity into price movements and future direction. In other words, their emphasis is not only on contextualized external intelligence, but also leveraging data and analytics to provide meaningful long-term guidance. As a category manager, all of the key actions that we discussed that should be taken by those in the first stage of maturity in the last video will still apply. The point here is that once that base of fundamental insight is set, you need to look towards analytics to turbocharge your decision-making. That said, you do want to be careful about when and how you deploy analytics, or else you'll be left with a lot of fancy charts that don't really help you act, or more importantly, buy strategically. For example, price forecasting is the baseline analytics that you need to kickstart your decision-making. But you need to be cognizant of the methodology being implemented as well. Simple extrapolations or historical analyses don't ever work. And so traditional methods, such as multiple linear regression modeling or fair value regression, still play strongly for a majority of commodities, as well as contracts for categories that we may not think of as liquid commodities, such as packaging, a category that can also benefit from price forecasting. And while AI is a buzzword that has teased this idea of higher frequency forecasting and greater accuracy, not every commodity or contract needs that level of automation. By the way, we'll be discussing this very topic of AI in an upcoming blog where we talk about the advent of AI in commodity forecasting and whether the hype makes sense for category managers. Look out for that at the smartcube.com website. Back to the topic at hand though, once your price forecasting analyses are set across your commodity-linked expenditures, you need to then analyze additional aspects such as seasonality trends, feedstock spreads, arbitrage opportunities, cost driver correlation, and sensitivity analyses to arrive at conclusive insights for your forecast model and hedge decisions. You can also look at technical analyses to further strengthen your fundamentals-backed argument with pure statistical pattern analysis. Now, back in the day, technical analysis as a concept sat firmly with the traders. But today, as procurement has matured, so has the capability of category managers. and technical analyses is now another tool that proves to your stakeholders that you're making a calculated and informed decision. The very next step in terms of analytics is to then tie all of this data and insight into your planning. And one way to do that is via inflation modeling. This means understanding the inflation you're expected to see in the coming year across your portfolio of raw materials and categories. This is a simple but still structured three-step process. Step one involves bringing cost structure visibility to your raw material purchase by building should-cost models, identifying what percentage of the cost is commodity linked and what percentage are non-commodity drivers. Step two is forecasting these should-cost models by forecasting those commodities and their related movements. And finally, step three involves marrying these forecasts to your internal spend and identifying the relevant implications. All of this is to say that analytics is key. Gone are those days where you could simply look at CPI or PPI to set your budgets. It's important to factor in not just solid intelligence, but also data science into your day-to-day and long-term decision-making as well. All right, that wraps up this video. In the next and final video in this commodity risk management series, I'll wrap up our discussion by speaking about the third stage of maturity that we tend to see when it comes to this topic. As always, we'd love to hear from you on your thoughts and perspectives. Do you agree or disagree with any of our comments? Send us a note with your feedback. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you'd like to hear more from us, hit the subscribe button. And if you'd like to get in touch, email us at info@thesmartcube.com. This was Inside Procurement.